Nah, see, I'm definitely tired of this, bro. I'm tired of it. Like, this is ridiculous, bro. To, cause Moist Critical is not leaving the internet. He's not going away. Like, just because, oh, you said in your other video when he was with Sneeko on Kick that Sneeko trapped you, and now you feel like that controversy is going to like bother him. Like, he's not going anywhere. He's not leaving.
Burgers than me. I have ranted about the stupidest shit of all time, but this was mind boggling even for me.
Bro, when I saw that, I was like, there's no way he's leaving, bro. There's no way Cause that would be like saying, you know, when Corey Kenshin and all y'all were doing that dumb bullshit with him, and he was gone for so long, and then y'all were saying, "Oh well, why didn't you tell us?" Like, this is like the opposite of that, where it's like y'all are just saying that he's leaving, and he didn't even tell y'all that like he was leaving or that this was confirmed. Like, y'all just made up something, and then stemmed it off of the fact of prerequisite drama that he had because of the last person you know he talked to.
Very upset that I was talking about how him rallying against the age of consent is pedophile arguments, like defending pedophilia. As I've said since the very beginning of this channel, I'm always willing to engage with people I disagree with, and I thought that maybe there was a chance I misunderstood what he was trying to say, even though it's still abhorrent. I thought, okay, maybe he's not actually trying to defend pedophilia. He's like some kind of pseudo-intellectual debate bro who's trying to say something else. So I was willing to hear him out on it, and I talked to him in DMs, and he said he doesn't believe in the age of consent. He believes in the age of marriage, can't assign a number to it, but said that when someone can legally drive, they should be able to marry at the same time, which is literally like a 15 or 16-year-old, because you get your permit at 15, your license at 16, and both are way too young to be marrying. That shit is completely unacceptable. It is downright disgusting. He then said that he was happy to discuss it in a call, which I said I was willing to hear him out on, and he said that he would do it later because he was outside doing an IRL stream in Turkey. So, I was willing to hear him out because, again, if this is some kind of crazy misunderstanding, I'd like to know that because it'd be really fucking scary for someone in his position with his level of influence to be actually advocating for adults marrying and fucking children. That's a huge problem. That's a big fucking problem. So if there was something that he was like trying to say but failing to do so, I was willing to at least hear it. And this is where the infamous debate came from. The debate that people are calling the debate of the century. I'm kidding, not a single soul on the planet said that. It's actually one of the most dogshit debates I think human beings have ever had. He eventually called me on Discord. I was under the impression this was just him and I talking.
Nah, I will,
I had
bro.
no idea this was going to be a debate. I thought he was going to try and explain himself like, hey, no, this isn't actually what I meant. This is what I'm trying to say. I thought this was a conversation between him and I.
Honor and respect, bro. Like, I care, bro. I care about this because this is wrong, bro. You don't not supposed to be stuck in this way of thought thinking and have like, I get the part where you're supposed to draw your fucking points in the sand and have stances on shit and like put walls up, but that's like really rude, bro. Like, to defend shit because of the ever-changing rules and stipulations of the world is really bogus to me, because if the rules change constantly but we set a standard no matter if the rules change or not, things that that's a Christian would say. I don't understand how using your rhetoric to explain how dumb your rhetoric is, because your rhetoric doesn't have a consistent basis. If you're saying that the only thing we should listen to is God, I don't think that's right, because I think God wants us to have our individuality and think for ourselves. I don't think he wants us to listen to God and let God take over your life. Isn't that still slavery? And doesn't God want you to still be free and have your own individuality and allow you to think for yourself? If you can't think for yourself, you're a slave to somebody else. You see what I'm saying? And if that person deems themselves as a god, then we're praying to a statue, basically an idol, something we're idolizing. That's what I'm saying. That's why he then goes to the stance of Hollywood, because they think that they're gods or like idols and we should worship them. Like, he's going for that stance.
So I thought that is why he asked. I didn't know it was because it was being streamed. Especially because one of his last DMs was about how he's doing an outside IRL stream and he would call me after. To me, that says when he's done streaming, that's when we'll talk, not as a part of his stream. I didn't know this was a debate nor a stream until about an hour and 40 into it, roughly somewhere in that ballpark. I am not a debater. I've never claimed to be one. I never want to be a...
You never show yourself to be one. This is not a debate. This was just me trying to figure out a person's morality and figure out where they stand on their opinions. That's all it was.
What side can score the most points by explaining their thought process, even if the position is wrong? Whereas a conversation is a very different thing to me. So I didn't even know that's what this was. So obviously I was unprepared for a
You weren't unprepared. It's the stance of the two people and what they want from you. He wanted to put his agenda on a platform so that he could be vocal about a stance to a group. You see where I'm coming from? That's like very dishonest. Like, you're manipulating a group of people by trying to make them think the same way as you, instead of allowing those people to also have their individuality and their thought process and be able to think for themselves and interpolate and value the information for themselves.
You're already way too far gone. Like, that is so fucking weird. And in no uncertain terms, multiple times throughout the debate, Sneeko says that he is okay with people that are aged 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 marrying adults that are 18 or older.
We're talking globally. Let's just talk globally. Like, do you think it is okay for, and I'm not talking about just you specifically anymore, anyone. Do you think it's okay for anyone in their 20s, an adult, to marry a 15 or 16-year-old?
A 21-year-old, if there was a marriage where the father consented and the daughter consented, and it was both good on both families and they wanted to do it, why am I going to get involved? Why should we get the government involved? Why am I going to get involved?
Get back a little bit. Do you think there's not a problem with a child being with an adult?
Okay. We haven't even agreed upon what a child and an adult is.
Number.
I just
it needs to be a number, or else you can do the same thing.
I just told you there's not a number.
Do you see why that's a problem?
No.
If there's no defined... So why can't a 12-year-old marry an 18-year-old?
Because most 12-year-olds haven't gone through puberty yet. And most 12-year-olds...
What if, as you just said, it changes. What if a 12-year-old went through puberty early, the parents consent, the 18-year-old and the parents consent? Can they do it?
Most likely that's not going to happen. You know why? Because Islamically, if
we're not talking most likely. Just say it.
If the families have consented, the kid is mature, the kid is ready. Why should I stop
at 12 years old? At 12 years old.
If the kid is physically mature, the parents consent, both parties are happy.
A 12-year-old being physically mature.
If that's the only line that actually makes sense.
Again, I don't think a 14-year-old can ever be physically mature. Mm-hmm. I actually had a mustache when I was 14. Would you have looked at me and said I was physically mature?
Yeah, and says that the dictionary doesn't know what friends are. It's like evidence. That's more evidential than not to actually say that you can't use that as a definitive way to say what the definition of that is by using the dictionary. You can't use that as a metric to deter right from wrong. You can't, because this song actually explains, and it's from a time that this is in 1984, bro. From a time that you haven't even been born in. And they're saying the dictionary doesn't even know what friends is. And you want to tell me that I go off of the dictionary, bro. The dictionary is the defining term. Is that because God told you that? Is that because God told you that? Because you said before you follow God. So did God tell you that was right in the Bible? Or in the dictionary? Did God tell you that was right? Or did you figure out through your own individuality and understanding and having trust in that, beyond that?
Sure enough to get married?
If you were physically mature, if you were mature, yes, I would. Okay.
Really? When I was 14.
Yeah. If you were 14 and you were ready to go and you met another 14-year-old, yes, I would.
No. We're talking adults. You keep going back to that.
That is adult.
I met.
I told you my definition. I told you the
14-year-old
definition.
adult.
The definition.
Okay.
If you went through puberty, you're an adult. That's the definition of adult. So yes, if you're an adult and you had a mustache, you're ready to get married, fine. Okay.
Unironically saying a 14-year-old adult, I think, would make most sensible people want to puke. There's so many instances of this, and a lot of the conversation was spent with him talking about like overseas age of consent, like talking about how Japan's age of consent was 13 for the longest time, this and that. But the whole thing was like pulling teeth, and it was fucking painful. But now, since I wasn't like holding him to this topic or making sure it stayed on the topic I thought we were talking about, it went all over the place with a ton of different things. But the big one, and this is what most people...
Because you wanted to stay on topic. You wanted to stay on topic, not go all over the place like Sneeko was trying to do. And Sneeko was following all the critical points that you were trying to say in him asking you questions. He was following that part. He wasn't following what you were trying to do. He was still doing what he wanted to do. And that's just weird to me. That is actually just weird to me on the forefront behind all of this. It's like he wanted to do what he wanted to do. He wasn't really listening to all the rest of your other parts, because if he was, because he was the one asking you the questions. You were just answering. He was just following that part. You were
transitioning. I had no idea that any living, breathing human being actually thought that that's how transitioning works, where you just go into a doctor saying, I feel like switching genders, and they lay you down on the operating table and just snip your whole fucking meat off. I didn't know that that's what he actually believed. I didn't know he was speaking literally. I thought he was just referring to the entire process of transitioning and just using this over-the-top statement to encapsulate all of it. Because you literally cannot get that surgery unless you are 18. My mistake. I should have been more clear instead of making an assumption that he was talking about something nuanced in an over-the-top way. I haven't hid this take, and it's not a new take from me. I've talked about this a couple times throughout the years on stream. I have no complaints if a kid gets interested in transitioning and starts talking to their family about it. So their parents start talking to doctors, the kid starts talking to doctors and therapists and all of this, because the process of transitioning is one that takes place over the course of many years. It's not something that just happens like that. And even I know these very surface level things that everyone has easy access to understand. It is a long process. And I have no problems at all if a kid gets interested in that process and starts going through that process with proper care. And then when they reach the age where they can consider that surgery and decide they want to do it, then that's all power to them. That's entirely up to them. They have reached that age. They can now do that surgery if they want to. That is not a surgery that's being offered to like a 9-year-old who just says, I feel like changing genders today. It's just not how it works. And that people keep dogpiling and spouting about me about how I want all kids to go out there and get their genitals chopped off is just fucked up. Like, it's so ridiculous. Sports in this topic. It was a stupid point to try and make. I was getting hit by like some rebound psychic damage listening to some of the drivel brain rot that Sneeko was spouting about the age of consent. And I don't know why I thought this was like an argument about it. And when it comes to transitioning, it's still a process where you talk to your family about it, you learn about it. Like, it wasn't a point where I was trying to say, well, changing genders is a lot like picking between baseball and soccer. Like, it's not what I was trying to get at, but because I didn't elaborate on it and it really wasn't a good argument to try and make in the first place, that's one people have harped on a lot. And tangents. Like, there was a point where Sneeko was trying to get me to say white power. Like, the whole thing was a fucking mess. It was, without a doubt, probably the worst debate that video has ever been cursed with. And I really regret not doing a better job here. It's not something I should have even done in the first place. I just have a tendency to really hope for the best out of people, and I was really hoping that I and most people were wrong about Sneeko's perspective on the age of consent. However, unfortunately, it doesn't appear to be the case. He was very adamant about this position, and I did a terrible job in arguing with him, and I did a terrible job of articulating my beliefs. I am supportive of the LGBTQ+, and I have been, and that's not something I've been shy about. I just wish I did a better job of expressing that. To be open and honest here, and I've talked about this a lot, I've always treated my channel kind of like a diary for myself, which is why I just talk about so much different nonsense and so many things that I know a lot of people don't give a fuck about, but some of it's fun for me to talk about, or some of it's just things I care about. So being totally honest, I used to treat the internet as an escape from my dog shit real life. Truly unhappy, really hated most of everything about myself, and the internet was my escape from it. The escapism for me now, like, I love posting and creating things, but I don't like interacting with the internet around me anymore. And it's something that I started to realize a couple months ago, and I've talked about it on stream a little bit, how because I've covered so many like drama stories and everything, it's pretty much all that I ever get told about when I'm streaming, and it's become such a massive headache, and it's just constant negativity that I'm fully flooded with, like, at all hours. Like, I am in like this human centipede of eating someone's ass while having my ass eaten, with even more things that I'm being demanded to like talk about, where everything just feels like a lose-lose, and it has been for like the last 6 or 8 months, I feel, where if I talk about something, it's a problem. Even if something is cut and dry as like Cody Ko having sex with a 17-year-old being bad, I caught a lot of shit for that too. I'm sure a lot of people probably didn't see that, but man, the amount of emails I got and a lot of the things I was seeing, even something as cut and dry as that was an issue when I talked about it. And then if I don't talk about something, or if I don't talk about something fast enough in the time that some people think is appropriate, I'm then accused of covering up for something for an ulterior evil motive. So it just really feels like a rock and a hard place where, regardless, it's just going to be a massive flood of negativity. And a huge critique of me that I've always seen is Charlie's a fence sitter. He's just a fucking fence sitting in.
How is he a fence sitter? Like, he just already told you that he doesn't do debates. So how would he be a fence sitter? He doesn't, like, do debates. So that would deter him being a fence sitter, because he doesn't really sit on the fence. He likes positivity. He wants more positivity than negativity. How is that, like, bad?
Enlightened centrist cuck this and that. And I've always said for the entire time I've been on the internet, I'm not special. I'm literally just a normal guy who got very lucky. I just sit here, joke about shit, talk about my opinion on things, and nothing else. I don't know, a really dumb soap opera. But recently it's been much more serious, and I feel the need to talk about these things because a lot of them are extremely serious with very important topics to discuss. But it has become draining. As much as I never wanted to admit it, I've started to recognize that my mood is immediately impacted by whatever I read on Twitter in the morning. If that's some horrible stuff about a creator or what have you, it immediately affects my entire day and my whole outlook on the day. Now I know, call the wambulance, get some french fries, just fucking whining about having to talk about drama. What a stupid problem to be upset about. But I'm just trying to explain that it hasn't been as fun recently. It hasn't. And the main thing, if you've been around the channel for a while, is I've always wanted this to be fun and never feel like a job. And as hard as it is for me to admit this, a lot of this kind of stuff, it has just started to feel like less fun and more of, well, gotta do this because I'm expected to. And it's been making me not happy. So I definitely think I'll be slowing down on covering internet-related drama or like drama in general. I'll still talk about like really wacky stories and shit like that, but I definitely think I'm gonna be pumping the brakes on like the kind of drama I have been covering recently. And instead, I'm going to go back to focusing on the content that I'm most happy with. Like, if you ask me what content I'm most proud of throughout my entire time on this platform for the last, 17, 18 years, none of it would be drama coverage. It'd be things like Skynut. It'd be things like shooting a potato at a tennis racket to see if you can make french fries in midair by frying them in hot oil.
Wearing your goggles or no?
I'm not wearing my goggles. Safety is the enemy of progress.
You want me to wear these?
Well, I don't know. You don't have to.
Oh, I think it looks pretty good.
Fire.
Again? Try it again?
It's shit like that. And I think I'm going to go back to that kind of stuff as opposed to the direction that I have been going recently. So, yeah, this was a lot to go over here, but I hope this has cleared everything up. And, yeah, that's really about it.